What is the emergency?
Domestic violence at the Opera Tower.
Okay, can you be more specific? What is the emergency?
I see the man beating on a woman.
I never imagined going through a case of domestic violence when migrating to the United States. Unless when I didn't speak or understand English. I was alone in another country. I didn't know anything about legal matters. My lawyer was Jewish and he didn't speak or understand Spanish. And I was a Latina immigrant in the midst of attacks and legal battles just a year and a half after leaving Venezuela. This is my story of gender violence never told before. My truth never expressed before. These are my deepest feelings, challenges, and emotions. This is a complaint and a protest on behalf of many like me. In my story, I want you to know the different forms of direct or indirect violence against women that continue to be a sad and harsh reality. If there is something I'm sure of, is that everything I will tell you, I will do it in the best way I possibly can. Although unmasking evil may cost me my life, fear will not stop me. I'm going to share with you many concerns that have been around in my head for years and tell you about a social problem that has been on our noses and about which we haven't been sufficiently educated, because surely with more information, many lives can be saved and many cases of abuse can be avoided. It is important that you learn to identify red flags so that you can know how to recognize when you may be in danger or when someone may be abusing their power. I'm taking this step with firmness, responsibility, and a lot of courage because I deeply desire to free myself from a great weight of guilt that doesn't leave me alone. Just thinking that another woman can live the hell that I lived, that another woman can be preyed upon as I was. I no longer fear coercion, and my voice will be my protection, and no one else will silence it unless my life is taken away. So if I turn up dead tomorrow, you know who to look for. It's a protest that reflects and shows the complicity, cover-up, and little action of different industries and government agencies that don't provide us with enough protection or see brutal attacks on women as a simple crime that often goes unpunished. This is a wake-up call to the Florida law and justice system where destroying an artifact or damaging private property is a greater crime than a brutal beating of a woman. The question is why? Why should victims nearly lose their lives for the laws to be fairer? What about the fear in which we daily have to live, or the psychological damage that ends the life of a human being? This psychological damage can last for years or sometimes a lifetime. That is why I want you to know that if I turn up dead tomorrow, you know who to look for. Comes from wondering if is the justice system made to listen to the warning signs? Why don't they act on threats or red flags? Why do we have to go through a protocol of restraining orders that many times are not respected and don't really protect us? Why react when it is too late, when someone has already turned off our life. If I turn up debt tomorrow, you know who to look for. It is born from what hundreds of victims try to denounce and warn, but we are facing laws that are very mild in the face of abuse and gender violence. Many times that women yells, "The guy harasses me, he chases me, I'm afraid, I feel that he wants to kill me." But those cries of despair are not heard. If we could ask Ursula Bajillo, Andrea Ruiz, or Gabby Petito how they feel, what do you think they would say? Today, my sisters are no longer present. Their lives were extinguished, stolen, and sentenced to the grave in the hands of beings that easily evaded the police and justice agencies. Although their lives could have been saved if only they had listened to them. Still, here I am to shout out this message from my God. I am willing to express what they kept silent. If I turn up that tomorrow, you know who to look for. It will remain on your conscience, in the consciences of those who didn't act when they could, in the conscience of those who covered up the criminal, in the consciousness of those who saw much and did nothing. During my story, I will call out the person who abused me, the defendant, the criminal, or simply by his name. But in reality, he could be called Juan, Matias, John, Leonardo, or Germán. I will call the defendant's lawyer, his lawyer, the $1 million lawyer, or by his name, José Báez. I will call my lawyer, and I could call myself Maria, Teresa, Catherine, Sonia, Stephanie, or Christina. Although, luckily, today I can call myself a survivor. However, at moments in my story, I will call myself as what I once was, a victim. Despite not liking the term, but I want to make it very clear that I'm nothing of him, not even his victim. Neither I nor any of the survivors I will mention in my story. As I mentioned to you in the previous episode, I will expose some documents that were used during my legal case. Many are part of legal public records in the state of Florida. Attached to each episode, you can find an easily accessible link so you can access all this evidence. There you will find many pieces of evidence, complaints, testimonies, and different statements. Also, the news or articles that I will mention are at your service. They are in the magical world of the internet. A phrase I love from Brandon Burchard is that when people do something wrong or inappropriate, it is proper to let them know. To the teenager who is hurting others, we need to tell them to stop. Then we can have a generation of adults who are less selfish and less cruel. Politicians who are lying need to be called out by the nation for what they are. Liars who call themselves leaders. These are virtues the world needs: bravery, courage, and honesty. Honest people who are willing to hold high standards for themselves and others. In this way, we can clean up our society, because a society lacking good people who are willing to speak up when something is not right can only lead to more darkness and mediocrity. So, what if we lose our fear of expressing ourselves, of being vulnerable, of saying what we feel? What if we stop being silent and break the silence so that silence is no longer an option? It is time for your liberation, and I'm here to help you. If you have gone through unfair, toxic, abusive, and painful circumstances, I would like to help you recognize, validate, and release those experiences and emotions because you deserve it. Go to the link in the description, maggalife.com/liberation, and get your masterclass and workbook. It's free. Let's start your journey today. With love, Magdiel.